Welcome to the Mischief. I'm Velen, and this is Nature's Aura, the Ender Crate Update. That's right, the Ender Crate Update. Today, I'm going to be thanking NabiGit, one of our wonderful patrons. Thank you very much for your support. Now, let's get into this bit by bit. So, this is more of an update, and it also may include a few things that I missed in previous bit by bits. There was a couple things that I overlooked. So there's been some really cool new content added to Nature's Aura, as well as some older stuff that I just overlooked. I may have covered it in the preview of the mod itself, but I figure I do need to cover it a little bit at least. Let's start with the Bucket of Infinite Color. This is a very simple device. It does require some... What is this? A token of Euphoria. What? There's a whole bunch of new items, and this is going to help me illustrate this. A whole bunch of these little tokens are needed, and some of them will then be advanced. Each one of these tokens will require their own ritual of the forest, and they will provide you with 2 of them at the very least. Your token of fear and your token of joy, and each of those can then also be turned into tokens of grief if you use it in an offering to the gods, a token of rage, token of terror, token of euphoria. Each one of these are all basically just ingredients for different recipes. They're not going to have any practical use, at least not that I am aware of as of yet. But for now, just know that a lot of the recipes that have been used in previous bit by bits for Nature's Aura have been changed slightly to include these new items. So, the Bucket of Infinite Color requires some infused iron, token of euphoria, and a few different colored items. And basically, you use it to color stuff. So in this case, I have some wool, I have some glass, and I have a few colors to choose from. If I, let's actually take this mystical magnifier off my hotbar there so I don't use it by accident. If I shift right-click on a color, the bucket will fill itself with that color and therefore allow me to color other items with that color, including some other items. Now in this case, it's not letting me color the glass. I think it's because I did something a little bit off there, and that would be because that glass didn't actually have a color to it. I forgot it had to have a color to it first, and then I can change it to whatever I want, like so. In fact, if I wanted this yellow, I can make that yellow. If I wanted to change all of these blue ones and all of these orange ones to different color, let's say green, I can change it to green, then in the air, sneak right click rather, and you can see it's now like a tipped over bucket. This will cover an area that will basically allow me to turn any of those that are connected into that appropriate color, as well as I can, individually click on certain ones as well. And that's pretty much it. It's a really cool device. It can be very useful for quick changes of colors if you're not sure of what you have, and you actually have a palette to work from. It should work with any of the 16 basic colors, and on basic items only. It's not going to necessarily work for every mob that uses the 16 basic colors for different things, like stained wood or something like that. Now, something else that I overlooked in previous bit by bits are these little floating gems right here. They're not gems, they're powders, but they're very, very useful. 2 of them will inhibit effects. 1 of them will actually trigger it. So let's start covering some of these different things. I've got Powder of Fertility. This is the one that actually will trigger things. So just by sneak right clicking in the world with some of these in my hand, let's just put down 1. It places it in the world, it starts making this little effect, and in a 1 block radius, therefore if I use my mystical magnifier, it will actually show you, because you can see it's actually like I placed it somewhere there, but it will have animals and creatures and stuff in that area start getting enhanced, or rather an increase of fertility. So this is kind of covered in your book if you really want to check the details of it, but know that you can also have things like eggs automatically hatch. If I grab one of these, put it on the ground, throw that down, and it has to be within the affected area. In this case, I've got 63 left. So let's do about 15 of those. Put that there, and if I use my magnifier to see the area, that is the area that it covers as well, so that you know that you can do that. To pick these back up, you just punch it, left click, that's pretty much it. And this one here, where'd the egg go? Oh, that's right. I forgot. I've got one of these hoppers nearby. This is a bad placement for it. Let's go over here and then we can do this a little bit easier. In fact, I'm going to use 2 of these so that I can toss an egg in here a little bit easier. And we'll just toss these off the side, and that should be in the area. Yeah, that's in the area. All right. So therefore, those eggs, instead of expiring when they, because they're floating in the world, will hatch. So it's a little something you're going to have to watch out for. Now, while we wait for that, let's go over here. We've got a couple of cows and so on. I've got a bunch of powder of fertility. I can put some of these down, and if they haven't already, started mating or something like that, any animals in the nearby area will automatically start mating. As you can see, there's already some XP from those 2 chickens over there, and then there goes the cows and so on. So this is another effect that this powder can have, is to have your animals, your farm animals, automatically mate. All right, so now let's just wait for this to turn into a little chicken. And there you have it. A couple baby chickens, just like that. So let's get out of here. We don't need them. Go ahead, get, shoo, bad chicken. Okay, sorry, they're just going to get in the way at this point. So let's continue on with more of these effect powders. So that was just one, the powder of fertility. That will actually trigger the effect by placing it down. These 2 will inhibit the effects. You have here the powder of steady growth. This will basically inhibit the idea of, if you have a whole bunch of these around, that if you have a good amount of aura nearby, actually I just clicked that by accident, it will start enhancing the growth of your items, and you'll start seeing like the little effects of the aura being so high. As you can see there, it got a green glow on some of this wheat. Now, if you put down a bunch of this, of course, I'm putting down an entire stack, and you can see here how far it goes out quite a distance. It will inhibit that, which you might think, well, why would we want to inhibit that? Well, it uses up aura to do this. You don't necessarily want things to constantly always keep growing. Plus, you might just not want to bother with that. But it is an effect of that. And these recipes I'll cover for all 3 of them in the end here. But for now, let's cover the next one, the powder of no storage. This one here, basically, on you might have an aura cache. And if it is slowly recharging because the aura is high enough, that can be great, but you might also want the aura to be staying at a specific spot. Well, that's what this does. You put it down and it stops charging your aura cache. That's pretty much it. Very basic for, of course, the entire range that you have it affecting. Now, this one I've got a 64 block radius, so that's quite effective, but otherwise this will stop a whole bunch of players coming in and draining your aura for their own aura cache needs if they're just visiting the base or something. But otherwise, without having it down, your aura cache will very slowly regenerate over time. Just if your aura, of course, is high enough. Now, of course, the powder of fertility is relatively cheap. You got your Ingot of the Skies, couple gold powder. Jungle sapling might be a little bit more challenging to come by. Your powder of steady growth, you get a lot more for your money. It's just oak sapling. And of course, your powder of no storage is extremely cheap, but it does cost you an aura cache in the process of making it. So once again, not too bad. The aura cache itself just requires a bunch of more or less ingots and such. Now, before I get into some of this new fancy shizwa that we've got going on here, something I neglected to mention is that the lingering absorber. Now, in the past, you would just throw things, and this may have been how it was before, and I just had it wrong, but if you right-click, you throw down something, and it will go into the aura. It's great. You notice it gives off a bit of an aura effect on the bottom there. Well, if I use the same potion, I'm using another of the same, you'll see the effect in the center, but nothing is happening on these capstones. That's because it actually is the same as this here, the herbivorous absorber, where it needs a variety in order for it to work. So if I use a speed 2 potion, it doesn't work either because I realize now that I've already used that one previously in testing. Let's try a night potion. Night vision potion. There we go. Yep, you can see it now works. Now, the only restriction, though, is that any kind of blocks now will be restricted. And this is where we get into some of the new content. For instance, I have a swamp homie. over here. I'm just going to call it a swamp homie. I just like saying that at this point. So if I have this currently generating a whole bunch of aura, it's going to get to a point where on the bottom right there, my aura bar will start getting up to the top, but it'll stop. It won't go into the plus area like I've shown you before, especially since I'm also using just an environmental eye. I'm not using the ocular like I have in the past. So once it gets to the top there, it's just going to stop. And it's not going to go any farther. Any of the aura generating blocks now will be capped out at that, unless you get one of these, a creational catalyst. The recipe for that requires all of the new tokens. The advanced versions of each will get you one of these. You can then put that underneath your block, your aura generating block of choice, and that will lift the cap. So therefore, if you want, you can get into the extra aura, the above aura, the better than normal aura. Let's get an ocular. Get one of these on here, get this old one out of here, and now you can see that it's currently giving the regular effects, like the bonus to fertility and whatnot, or at least it would normally. Of course, these things would tell me if they're currently giving anything. It says, no, you're not charging any of your stuff. But if I use this here, we can start getting into the above area, that little brown zone. Now, some of it's being used in some cases by nearby items. There we go. So you can see that we are now in the brown zone, which in this case is actually a good thing. And therefore you can get above that without this. Let's break that. I can do this, but it's not actually giving me the benefit. So you can see it's just kind of saying, no, you need to have this, the creational catalyst, underneath whatever your aura generating block is. I was just using this because it was easy to click around on things. It would be the same for, your this here, the lingering absorber, or what other items you have, the canopy diminisher, and that one as well, and so on. Now that we've covered how some of the basics have changed on this, I did neglect to mention that you can also put a whole bunch of extraneous fire starters on these, and it goes even faster, at the cost of even more aura being used, of course. But just a quick mention. Let's get into these, the ender crates. These are pretty darn slick. If you make one of these things, there we go. I will just break one here. The recipe requires bottled darkness, which means you have to have gone to the end. I have ender, an ender chest, and 4 obsidian. Now this is a better than an ender chest with remote inventory access options and privacy as well. It's like an ender chest but better. Plus it has this really cool texture on top that I absolutely love. So if you look here, it also says ender name, Valen's Hoard. I named this thing. That's right. I put it in an anvil and named it. If you just do this, it's not going to do anything. You need to rename it with an Eye of Ender. You put this in here, and then you need to change it. As you change it, boop, you notice it now is available to be changed to something else. Ender name, Ender Crat, which won't actually be very useful. For now, let's just take this down, pick it up, and I'll show you how it's used. Now, this here is an Ender Crate that's been named. This one has been named Valen's Hoard. If I open it up, you can see there's a whole bunch of items in it. Let's put this one down. It's the same thing. It's also named Valen's Hoard. Take out this botanist's hoe, open this one, put it back in. You can see that it's in each of these spots. So these are connected. They go across dimensions. They're harvestable without any kind of silk touch enchantment. Notice this is a regular botanist pickaxe. And they're renamable and lockable. So in this case, if you look over here, I have this one, someone else's crate. It's got a lingering potion of swiftness. This one isn't even named. I can right click, but nothing happens. So let's try and rename this one into Valen's Hoard. This one has no name. So we're going to put this here, and we're going to actually try naming that one. Oh, that's right. It's not a problem, right? Well, you can make it so that it's restricted by access. For instance, if I click on here and I put a token of terror inside, with one of these little guys here, which are made from a token of fear with a spirit of calling, and so on. You put that inside there, it cannot be named that anymore. So now let's try taking this no ender name one and we will try naming it Valen's Hoard. And you'll see that so far it's been okay. As soon as I put D, it says, nope, that one's already been taken. So there's no way that other people will be able to access your storage if you don't want them to in that fashion. So this is cool and all, but what is the benefits of actually getting this besides, so I just get a Silk Touch pick and it's as good as an Ender chest, right? No, you can have remote access to this. This is where an Ender Ocular comes in. Ender Ocular uses an Ender chest, Eye of Ender, some Bottled Darkness, gets you one of these, which are useless until, as before, you put them in here and you name them in the same exact way. In this case, you would name it Valen's Hoard, but as you can see, it will not allow me to do remote access in this case, but it already is named that, so I don't need to actually change it. So if I right-click it, nothing happens. Reason being is that I don't actually have an aura cache on me right now. Let's get one, and then if I right-click, I now have access to that same storage. Grab that botanist hoe. You can see that it's not in here, but it is there, and not there, and so on. It's pretty cool. You can store all your stuff in there as you want. It's just really neat. I like the remote Ender crate option, or Ender chest option, that is also private lockable. If you so desire, you can have multiples of these and store several different kinds. Therefore, you can have access to multiples in your inventory. Kind of give you like a safe backpack version. So even if you die, you lose your Ender Ocular, you just make a new one with the same name, provided you don't have a terror critter thing in there, and you should be able to get this. Now here's the thing. Let's mine both of these up. There we go. So there's no storage currently existing that's been placed down. Hey, I can still access it. It's just as good as kind of an Ender pouch of sorts, or some kind of backpack item, which is pretty neat. I like that quite a lot. It's very nice. But let's get into the really cool stuff, and that is this: the Staff of Shadows. This here is made with a token of terror and some stones and some ancient wood rods, which ancient wood rods are just some slabs together. Now the Staff of Shadows is used best in an area where there are caves. Basically, this is a cave finding divining rod of sorts. Now, I don't actually have any caves underneath where I'm at. So let me go way over here where I've got a few more. Oh, I thought that I just pushed that by accident. Where I've got a few caves that might be nearby. But basically, you just right click and you'll start seeing it recharge. And you might start seeing some different things nearby that would give you an idea that caves are near. Now in that case, there we go. I just realized that that's a bad area there to choose, but you can see the little dots on the screen here. It's because there's actually a cave right here, and you could even dig down to them. These dots last for about 30 seconds. You can see that they're starting to fade away. Once that's done, it's finished its recharge animation. You can use it again. Now it does use some aura to do so, but therefore you now have a way of finding caves underground very easily. You could easily just dig straight down, or, well, not that people do that in Minecraft now, do they? But you can see the cave network because it's kind of detecting where there's like light missing in the world that is needed. So in this case, there was some underground that I had over here, and so on. But yeah, it's pretty darn slick. I mean, if you ever want to go exploring and trying to find caves, this is going to be the staff that you are going to be needing. So that's pretty much it. Don't forget, folks, we stream on Twitch most days around 10 p.m. Feel free to join us. It's a lot of fun. We'll be seeing you guys next time. Bye.